The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in. First and 12, a weekly check-in on Big 12 football. It was an eventful weekend. So much to unpack as always in this league. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone, and sponsored by Macy's. Alex, this league always provides just outstanding content. We got so much to get to this week.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, first of all, we flip the coin every week because we get harassed. Whether or not you pick BYU or Utah, I don't know to go first. But the reality is that this one's the most fresh on our minds because this one was the one that you and I are both at the stadium. So let's kick things off here with our BYU game reaction. Let's jump in right here.
The BYU Breakdown.
All right, there you go. Yes, Mitch, you mentioned it. This program brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands. Macy's Happy Shopping. It was BYU yesterday moving to 6-0. Mitch, I didn't know what to expect after a bye week, and everybody was wondering about it. And, in fact, Kalani Sitake, you'll be able to hear later on in the program, I think was harassing you personally about going at this team because, my goodness, I mean, maybe not you guys personally, but, a lot of people were wondering if we were going to come out of this bye week flat. You do wonder what's going to go on. And, frankly, there's a version of this, Mitch, that happens with every team, especially when you haven't seen them play for 13 days. You go, are they the real deal? Was 5-0 a fluke? And certainly there were the people who were wondering if all of what was going on with BYU football was a fluke. And I'll tell you, these games have been some of the weirdest ways to get dominant wins. And yesterday's 41-19 win over Arizona was another crazy defensive showing by Jay Hill's guys. 4 takeaways that lead to 24 points. That, to me, was the biggest part of the game, especially those first 2 defensive series right out of the gate. The first play in the second half of Arizona with Jacob Robinson popping that thing up into the air and getting the interception. But the 4 takeaways leading to those 24 points, it's just massive because your defense takes it away. Of course, you had the pick six at the end. There was a little bit of a, throw on top there for Isaiah Glasker, who was my defensive MVP by far. But this was your offense goes in and they have to perform too, and they did. So it was a 1-2 punch combination. They get 41 points, didn't even get to 400 yards of offense, Mitch. We've seen this before. They did it against Kansas State.
This was the most complete performance I think BYU's had this season, and I think it really validated that this is a good football team because even coming out of the Baylor game, I felt, well, how good are they? Because they let Baylor get back in it a couple weeks back. This was a dominant performance. Now, they did start out slow, similar to the Kansas State game where they got down early and Montana Lamonis Craig had that touchdown grab from Fafita and BYU was down 7-0, but away they went from there, and Tanner Wall had that interception in the second quarter, and as Jake Retzlaff and some of the players noted, it was deja vu in that third quarter when Robinson got the pick, as you noted, but then Isaiah Glasker with the strip on Fafita that Harrison Taggart then recovered. I just think that this was a validating moment for BYU that they might not just be the strength of record number 1 team. They're probably the best team in the Big 12 right now. And that's probably a little bit of a tease to our Big 12 power rankings coming up. But BYU is not only in the mix for the Big 12 title race, but they're in a position now, Alex, where with how this schedule is shaking out for BYU moving forward, when you play the schedule game, I think at a minimum it's a double-digit win season now in front of this BYU team. That was a dominant performance yesterday against Arizona.
Well, me, like so many other people that I know who live in the land of, you just got to get to bowl eligibility. They got to bowl eligibility yesterday. Even if they go 0-6 the rest of the way, Mitch, you'll still be able to go check them out in Shreveport. No, the reality is you could not have picked something like this to happen, I don't think. Now, again, BYU goes, no, we knew we had this special of a team. But the reality is once you get out on the field, you don't know how that ball's going to bounce. And also, Here's why to me it was also a complete performance, and I agree with you what you said. It was also because the run game didn't just get back on track. You got a couple of guys who are healthy, but you didn't have to run the ball that much. I mean, BYU ran 60 offensive plays to, I think it was like 87 for Arizona. BYU averaged 6.5 yards per play attempt. Super efficient. Now, they ran the ball 27 times for 147 yards. You had over 5.5 yards a carry by L.J. Martin. You had 7 yards per carry from Hinkley Rapati. And those are the types of numbers that you look at and you go, okay, there's the difference, right? We were waiting for a performance like that, but all you got was a very, very efficient, super balanced, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. More importantly, 0 interceptions for Jake Retzlaff, and then the 147 yards on the ground. I think that 250 and 150 type of a model is exactly where you want to be, and they were a couple yards short of it. But my goodness, you scored 41 points at home this week, and 2 weeks ago, or the last time you were at home, you were taking on Kansas State. You scored 38 points that night. I mean, look, they get into their home stadium and they put it on. They have figured it out, and they definitely have the best wins of all the teams right now. They're 6-0. They are 3-0 in conference play, obviously. And that, I mean, this is a team who has everything out in front of them, and you could say whatever you want and go, they're overrated. Whatever you want. They're still 6-0, and right now, if you're setting up all of the postseason, predictors and everything, they're in the Big 12 championship game. They're in the college football playoff conversation. They're the 4th seed in a lot of these projections already. And what else are you going to do? They're undefeated. They're undefeated in both conference and in their overall record. So that's all you can do is make those projections that way.
No question. And I think that it was interesting this week, and there was so much hype about, the national exposure that BYU got. It's still, they had Fox come in, Big Noon Kickoff, and I had the chance to speak to Brady Quinn on Friday, who's Big Noon Kickoff host. And it was interesting. On Friday, he said, and I hadn't put much thought into this, but he compared BYU's start. This was on Friday before this game got played, to TCU's run in 2022, where it just seemed like out of nowhere, this perfect storm developed for TCU. And you start to wonder now, after what took place on Saturday against Arizona, is that what we're witnessing here, where BYU, if you stack them up against the Georgias, you stack them up against Texas, yeah, they're incredibly flawed compared to that. But in their league, is this becoming just a perfect storm where by season's end, could they be undefeated? Like that's now a conversation that's starting to be had potentially. And I thought it was interesting when Brady Quinn said that, and then BYU follows it up with a 22-point win over an Arizona team who 2 weeks ago soundly beat Utah and has talent. Yep. I know that Arizona's having issues, and they can't finish drives, and Noah Fafita is not who he was last year. And I think even Tetaroa McMillan is still I think he sometimes underachieves at times. He had some drops in that game against BYU, but I just think that BYU, it's this perfect storm where on paper, the names, the talent feels like, is this really a top 10 team? But it's like, doesn't matter. They're just winning football games, and they're doing it in impressive fashion.
When you say Bruce Mitchell's name about 5 times in our postgame, which we did, the third, maybe even 4th string, center at this point, South Summit High School's own, I mean, it just shows you the type of depth that BYU has compared to even just last year. Not just at the offensive line position, but you're seeing names that are being called on the defense that you go, I think people were waiting for maybe a couple years before those guys developed, and yet they're already developing right before your eyes. So BYU's big win, we've got a lot still to talk about with that and much more later on in the program. You're going to be able to hear Kalani Sitake, his post-game comments. When we return to the program, segment number 2, we're going to jump into Kyle Whittingham and the Utah Utes, who are on the flip side of this, now losers of 2 straight. And really, it is just one of those question mark moments for this program. What do you do now? What is the Cam Rising situation? Coach Kyle Whittingham next we will be listening to right here. It's all brought to you by the folks at Macy's. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's Happy Shopping. Mitch, Harper, Alex, Kirry. It is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio. Happy Sunday.
Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Yeah, that's right. That's Mitch Harper on the other side of this thing. I'm Alex Kirry, and you can hear us every Sunday right here on 1st and 12. Of course, our Big 12 breakdown every week, brought to you by the good folks at Macy's grocery stores. If you guys aren't aware of this, the local preference that you have, of course, of freshest fruits and vegetables, local farms, your favorite brands, Macy's Happy Shopping. Mitch, it's a head scratcher right now up in Salt Lake City. Kyle Whittingham and his guys are licking their wounds, and it literally, they're wounded. And I can't tell what's going on with Cam Rising. I don't think anybody is. I don't know how many times in the broadcast they had to show Isaac Wilson on the sideline looking on without really having any input as to how this thing was going to go. I think people were wondering, are they going to put this cat in the game? And the answer was no. Cam Rising after the twisted ankle. He's wearing a glove. He obviously didn't look 100%. Here's Kyle Whittingham in the postgame. Talking about this team and this loss to Arizona State down there in Tempe.
All right, very similar conversation to what we had after the Arizona game. Got out rushed. We were awful in the red zone. Lost the turnover margin. Missed a bunch of tackles. And so, unfortunately, and very disappointingly, it's the same storyline. And as long as we have our woes in the red zone, we may not win another game this season until we get it fixed. That's how important it is. It was not due to lack of time spent on it. Tripled the practice amount of time over the last 2 weeks. And again, very disappointing that we didn't see better results. You cannot win football games, rarely if ever, with a bunch of field goals. You just can't. It just doesn't work. We had 4 field goals, and that's as negative as it is a positive, because you can't win kicking field goals as a general rule. And so we've got our work cut out for us. We're a good football team. I firmly believe that. But again, shame on us for having the same storyline 2 games in a row. And give them credit. The tailback was tremendous. Number 4, Scatabo. Well over 150 plus yards, I think he had. Made some nice plays on defense at times. Mekhi Bernard had a terrific game for us, nearly 200 yards of total offense. So there were some positives, but again, it goes back to the same dialogue I had after the Arizona game, and the same problems and the same things that we've got to address and work on even more. And that's where we're at. So, questions?
Kyle, obviously you get Cam back, but was there any conversation maybe at halftime, knowing that he was injured, to switch it up? Or?
No, he wanted to play, and he felt very strongly that he wanted to stay in the game. And he's won a bunch of ball games for us. It was very apparent that he's not at 100%, but it's coaching decision to decide who gives you the best chance to win the game, and that's who you put in there. And like I said, Cam has been terrific for us in the past, and you can see the rust. It was 3 weeks off, 4 weeks, whatever it's been. But he's a heck of a quarterback, and he'll bounce back.
Kyle, was it issues with his hand for the missed throws, or he took a hit there on that first drive?
Yeah, he got rolled up on really a lower leg injury that limited his mobility for the rest of the game. And of course, he's wearing the glove so he can increase the grip, help the grip on the football. So that's he's banged up.
Was it more of the hand, or was it more of the leg?
I'll have to ask him. Tomorrow we'll have a conversation and find out. But he was adamant about wanting to go. He wanted to go. He's a competitor. He's a very competitive kid.
Considering the 2 losses now and the new injury to Rising, how much do you now weigh the balance with Isaac Wilson?
We'll have a lot more information and a lot more idea of how Cam feels tomorrow and the next day. Usually you can play through those things with adrenaline during the heat of the battle, but it's the next day or the day after when they really start to manifest how significant it is, or isn't, as the case may be. So that decision will be made as we move forward.
You
You have a bunch of guys out on the defense, but where are you seeing maybe the lapses that allowed for them to be able to run all over you?
Yeah, we run some zone pressures, and some of our slant guys got cut off. And when that happens, there's dead gaps, and that back is as good as any back that we faced of finding those gaps. And so, but injuries are part of the game. I mean, we had guys out, but the guys that are in there have got to get the job done, and that was it. The majority of those runs that popped were on the zone pressures. Not all of them, but the majority that we either lost the edge or lost an interior gap by getting cut off.
You worked on tackling in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
How would you rate the tackling performance?
Not good. It seemed like we missed 20 tackles tonight. There probably won't be that many, but we are typically a single-digit missed tackle team week in and week out. And we had 13 or 14 against Arizona. And I bet we had more than that this game. But we worked on tackling in the bye week. We had full gear practices the week that we didn't have a game, and worked on tackling, worked on red zone. It's not for lack of work.
There was some fans that rushed the field after the game, and it seemed like there was some interactions between players and some of the students that ran onto the field. Was there any frustrations on your end on how?
I didn't see that.
Okay.
I didn't notice that. I hope there was no physical altercations or anything like that. Is that what you're saying? There was
No, just taunting and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. If you win the game, you deserve to taunt. You just got to own it. We got beat, so part of the deal.
Kyle, obviously there's a lot of emotions from your team. 2 back-to-back losses is tough. How do you kind of regroup from that? I mean, what do you kind of do as a coach now?
Well, you certainly lean on your leadership, your seniors, captains. Got to be better as coaches. We got out-coached tonight, no doubt about it. And we've all got to, again, it's very similar to what I said 2 weeks ago. We got to find out, each and every one of us, what we can do to be better as coaches, as players, how we can improve. We know our deficiencies. I guess that's a positive, but we haven't seemed to be able to get them rectified.
Final question?
You mentioned a lot about the red zone offense struggling. Obviously, with Cam back in the lineup, the struggles were still there. How much of blame do you place on the play calling?
Blame me. Put it all on me. I'll take all the blame for the red zone. So that's where the blame goes. Thanks, guys.
Kyle Whittingham clearly not happy with that performance, and it's a deal where you can tell Whittingham is frustrated because he knows he's got talent, but beyond the offensive woes with the health of Cam Rising, who had a massive step back with the ankle, I think that was the bigger issue than the finger and the hand, was the defensive performance where the tackling was an issue once again, and Cam Scadaboo just runs wild, and he's even making an impact late in the game in the receiving game on that big third down catch. Utah just, you wonder, Alex, if there's an issue for Utah. We'll get more into this too with Utah breakdown at the top of the hour, but you feel like, have they lost a little bit of their identity by coming to the Big 12, where they had that underdog role, and has that worn on them, where it was playoff or bust? Because you're seeing people say season's over. Like, no, you could still win out. I think Utah's still good enough to win out in the league. But, man, with what you saw on Friday in Tempe, if they show up like that again, they'll lose almost every game in this league.
Well,
so
I think
it's a crazy deal here for the Utes.
Yeah, what's really tough about it is everybody waiting and holding their breath. How's Cam doing? What's going on with Cam? And it's just a tough place to live. It's a tough place to be for Utah fans, because it's like, hey,
also,
look, what are you going to do? What's this going to look like? Every week you're going to do this. It's an ankle, it's a hand, it's a knee, whatever it is. It's a bad place to live if you're a Utah fan.
And also, it was the trump card of, when he gets back, it's back to order. It's back to being that conference champion level team that they've known, and it was nothing of the sort. And, Mekhi Bernard was doing everything in his power to will them to a victory, and he looked great in that game. But outside of him, there was nothing much to write home about for the Utes. I mean, they had costly penalties where they're just blatantly running into defenders that was costly PIs. Nothing was working for Utah. They were disjointed, and Cam Rising's at the center of it all, and he's got to get right, or they're going to be in a situation where Whittingham is going to have to make a change and go to Isaac Wilson if Cam is not healthy enough. This is 1st and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. It's brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. We're taking a timeout. On the other side, we'll get to the Big 12 headlines, and we'll dive in more to the Week 7 action around the Big 12 right here on 1st and 12.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. 1st and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in to 1st and 12. Hope all of you are having a fantastic Sunday. Hope you're having a great weekend. Appreciate all of you listening to us on KSL News Radio or the KSL Sports Zone or on podcast. If you miss any part of the show, subscribe to our podcast feed on the KSL Sports app or wherever you get your podcast. This show is sponsored by Macy's Grocery Store, getting the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. And Alex, I know some teams around the league are feeling very happy right now. Others, not so much on this Sunday.
No, and let's jump in here. I mean, we've got ourselves a giant Big 12 headlines to get into, so let's do it right here. Let's kick it right off.
12 headlines.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The dozen storylines that shape this week of Big 12 football. Headline 1.
BYU stays undefeated, 6-0, 41-19 over Arizona. My goodness, Kalani and his guys, they're absolutely rolling right now, and I mean, we're going to have a lot to talk about, of course, this week. You guys are going to have your Cougar Nation show, of course, you and Matt Baiamonte on KSL News Radio tomorrow night. But my goodness, it's a ton to jump into. But BYU goes undefeated, 6-0, and they're not the only ones that are undefeated in this conference. But the Arizona Wildcats are just absolutely it's a head-scratcher for me, Mitch. I don't know what to think about this team.
That's right. I mean, their offense has been a big issue this year. You thought at a minimum, even with the coaching change, their offense would be high-flying with Fafita and T-Mac. It's just not working right now. And Fafita only completed 50% of his passes. He was taking hits left and right from BYU's defense. Fafita, he still had some big plays, but few and far between, and that's why Arizona is reeling right now to the point where you're wondering, are they going to go to a bowl game? That's a crazy conversation considering the hype they had coming into the year. Headline number 3, Iowa State had modest hype, but still no one really knew how good they would be. They remain undefeated. They took down West Virginia on the road at a very hostile environment. They win 28-16, and to kind of follow that up, Alex, with headline 4, Cyclones are 6-0 for the first time since 1938. Think they could go undefeated this season?
I mean, if you're gonna roll the dice on a team who's gonna go undefeated this year, BYU or Iowa State, I don't know what to think. But yeah, Mitch, of course you busted that one out. 1938. You already knew the Cyclones were good. We I don't know what to think about this team. The top of the league right now, BYU and Iowa State, and my goodness, Utah is going. It goes down to Arizona State, and they lose. The Sun Devils might be the biggest shock in the entire Big 12 this year, and that's a conference that's been surprising people across the board. But my goodness, I don't know which one it is, BYU or Arizona State. Which one shocks you the most right now?
It's BYU to me because they're dominating teams. Arizona State still had moments when you look at their whole body of work where they go on the road at Texas Tech, and they struggled in that one. And Texas Tech's one of the better teams. They were off this week, but Arizona State is a tough out in Tempe, and anyone that travels down there, which includes BYU in November, good luck trying to stop Scadaboo and Levitt. And, Levitt didn't have his best game. He was banged up in that win over Utah. So they got contributions from guys in their bench, from Kenny Dillingham, and youngest Power 4 football. He's flying high right now, and as he should, because what he inherited last year from Herm Edwards, it was a dumpster fire, and he's already made ASU a really respectable team down in the desert. And for Utah, expectations were sky high for this group, and a lot of it was because of Cam Rising. He twisted his ankle. He was limping around. He just clearly was hobbled, and it leaves Utah fans feeling, do they have to turn the page to the next quarterback, Isaac Wilson, because Cam did not look right.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Isaac Wilson is feeling 100% either. Can't tell what you're going to get with this with this team right now. But yes, Cincinnati, by the way, I can't tell if they're any good or if UCF is totally given up. How about Cincinnati getting the win down there at UCF? They're 4-2 on the year, just like we had planned, right? I mean, my goodness. But UCF has lost three straight after starting off the season 3-0. And my goodness, UCF benching KJ Jefferson. I don't even know who E.J. Colson is at quarterback for this UCF team, Mitch. Please help me out here.
Yeah, E.J. Colson, a young quarterback, because it hasn't been going well for KJ Jefferson. E.J. Colson's a class of 2024. He's a true freshman that they started at QB. And, UCF, they've lost games. They had that loss to Colorado a few weeks back. But beyond that, they had 6 players go into the transfer portal recently. It feels like it's more than just the field. It's maybe a locker room dynamic from when you're seeing a mass exodus in season. Things are not going well right now for UCF, and it just only gets amplified when you're benching a heralded transfer portal addition that you probably paid a pretty penny to get, and you're going to a true freshman. You wonder if Gus Malzahn is trying to almost say a message that they're looking to the future going forward. Some national projections have BYU and Iowa State in the Big 12 title game, but also could be a 2-bid league in the college football playoff. They need BYU, even maybe Texas Tech, Iowa State team. If you want to get 2 bids in this league, you got to keep having those teams winning ball games.
Yeah, and probably have to have somebody undefeated, or at least going into that Big 12 championship with a couple of just one-loss teams. Maybe that's how you're going to get the 2-bid league. And of course, you have teams like Ohio State losing over the weekend, and that those are the type of things where you're going to have a stacked Ohio State or Oregon getting into that Big Ten. You want to see more of these teams. I think Ole Miss losing over the weekend, of course, adds to that jumbled mess in the SEC, and if LSU is going to continue to go forward there, I don't know what to expect, but. Kansas State survives Colorado. Colorado was looking absolutely ridiculous coming back. They were down 21-7 going into that fourth quarter, and Kansas State ends up going down. But then, of course, Avery Johnson on just 2 plays were able to get down the field and score late. And Colorado, my goodness, I don't even know what to think about this team because they're 4-2, but Travis Hunter is banged up. I don't know what it was, a reported shoulder injury, but he didn't go in the game basically in the last half of that matchup. And my goodness, I don't know what to think about this team right now. But Kansas State survives; they're going to stay in those rankings, and they look pretty darn good. But you go into a hostile environment. Colorado still looks pretty darn good right now. I don't want to totally write them off, but Coach Prime and his guys, they're dialed up right now, Mitch.
That they are. And, Colorado, Kansas State, that was a renewal of an old Big 8 rivalry. And, I think one thing that was nice to see when you look at, how these 4 corner schools are transitioning into the Big 12 as we wrap up Big 12 headlines, I think the transition has been a little bit of a mixed bag where you thought they were going to have maybe a lot of success because the Pac-12 was flying high last year, but it's been some tough physical matchups. But I think what's been noteworthy is that they're going into these road venues and even some of their own home venues have been hostile environments. I mean, that K-State Colorado game was off the charts. It was sold out, capacity crowd. Like Folsom Field a few years ago was just a graveyard. There was no energy, and Coach Prime has really ignited the crowds there. But that's a good sign going forward for this league, is that you want to always have those, Big 12 after dark, capacity crowds, must-see TV. I bet that game's going to have a massive TV rating when that number comes out, because that was a entertaining football game.
Yeah, it was a fun one to watch for sure. I mean, it was a fun one to watch, but then they got to go face Arizona, and Kansas State has to go to West Virginia, another hostile environment. They go into Morgantown and West Virginia. Neil Brown, they're licking their wounds, and so maybe they go and they pop Kansas State in the mouth next week. We'll see. It's getting more interesting. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. This program brought to you by Macy's. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from the local farms, your local favorite brands. Macy's, happy shopping. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got our sound roundup across the Big 12 coming right up. Stay with us right here, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.
Can't get enough BYU football? Listen to Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper takes your calls Monday nights from 6 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Podcast at kslnewsradio.com.
That's right. He's Mitch Harper. He is the BYU insider that you need to hear from. If you have not already followed Mitch on all the socials, you got to do it. Read his byline at KSLSports.com, and you can also hear him on Cougar Sports Saturday with Matt Baiamonte and Cougar Nation on Mondays, where you can call in and complain about the BYU football program, even though there's not much to complain about. So let's jump in. I think we've got a little open for our sound roundup. So let's just jump in and we'll get a listen to that, and then we're just gonna have it star one particular guy this week, and we'll jump in right here.
Big 12 Sound Roundup.
Check 1, 2.
The best bites, cheap shots, and excuses from Saturday's post-game news conferences.
I didn't want to hear any complaint. I didn't want to hear any excuses from Coach Prime this week, Mitch. So you know what we did? We're just going to jump right in with BYU's quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, who is currently rolling. 6-0 right now are the Cougs. They've already eclipsed their win total from last year. They're, of course, only won 5 games last year. This year they've won 6. They're 6-0. They've already won 3 games in conference. They only won 2 games last year in all of the season of conference play. So here's Jake Retzlaff in the postgame after the Arizona win yesterday, 41-19 down in Provo.
PK is awesome, man. He could do everything. I mean, the punt return a few weeks ago, he can run the ball too in the jet game really well. He can throw the ball a little bit. You guys have seen all of his gadget plays. You saw the exact same play at Arkansas last year. He's a great player, man. He's a guy who didn't have a great few weeks of the season, frankly. Had a drop or two in our first home game, but the guy just kept his head down, kept working, and now he gets to reap those rewards, man. The touchdown catch today, that was awesome. I didn't have a doubt he's going to make that play. When I saw the matchup, when I made my read, I was looking my chops, so I was happy for him to make that play.
What do you think adding LJ to the offense again gives a different element to your offense?
It's funny you guys ask these questions because you ask about, like, Shione Moa and how he's so awesome, and then you ask about LJ how he's so awesome. And it's like, they're all awesome. Like they all do so many great things. And, like, I could name every running back in the room, and they could go out here and do some amazing things. LJ is a tremendously good player. That guy is awesome. I know we have so much confidence in him. He made a couple great runs late in that game when we wanted to steal the game, and he did a great job of that. LJ is a great player, man. He can do it all. I'm super excited for him, super proud of him, the way he played today.
What's going through your mind when the defense that you guys up on the 9-yard line to open up the third quarter?
Oh, that was fun. Touchdown Chase Roberts, right? Chase made a great play. The ball got tipped in the line of scrimmage. Chase made a good adjustment. But, man, our defense is doing it week in and week out. It is so awesome. It was like deja vu from the K-State game, right? I mean, the 2 turnovers right away, back-to-back to start the half. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's incredible to play with those guys on the other side of the ball.
How would you assess maybe the preparation for this week? It seemed like you had a lot of national attention with some ESPN features and whatnot, just the preparation that went with all the outside distractions.
All that stuff is gravy, man. The number one thing is take care of business on the field, no matter what. I remember, doing the national attention is definitely something, but at the same time, like, you gotta keep the main thing. And I don't think anybody's better at that. Any group of people I've been around that's better at that than this football team. we are so good at going from joking around, having fun, to executing football plays. I don't think there's a better place to be for that. Thursday practice is just helmets practice day, and that was the most intense day of practice. And that just goes to show the professionalism with these guys and just how great they are at taking care of business on the field. And so we all have that mindset. And so the national attention is great. The interviews are great. All the pub is awesome, and it's so great for the BYU image, making BYU even bigger than it is. And so we love it, but we're also so good at making the main thing the main thing.
When you guys took over at the 6-inch line, had to go 99 yards, what was said before that drive? Anything?
Let's go 99 yards and score a touchdown. That was literally what was said by 3 or 4 guys to me, and I said it back to them. We're excited for that. Quarterback sneak gave us a little room. They jumped off sides. Great job by our team by looking ready and making them jump. And then, we just made plays all the way down the field. Keanu over the middle. These guys are just – Darius obviously on the side just made a great catch to start it. Got the momentum going, then Kibo, then the run game picked up at the end of that drive. So you tell me, that guy balled his butt off. We had 0 sacks again. Connor Pay, put your feet up, bro. Relax. I'm just kidding. But, yeah, Bruce played incredible, man. He just did everything that he does. Bruce is one of the most fun guys to just be around in the locker room. I got the privilege of being a few lockers down from him. So we're good buddies. And that guy is just – you'd think a guy like that coming in for his first start at center in his career would be, nervous or, trying to be too focused. You know what I mean? That guy was making jokes more than I was tonight on the sideline, which is saying something. Just goes to show that guy is so comfortable, so confident in himself. That speaks to Coach Woods and his preparation of all of his guys. He's a great, great O-line coach. We're so blessed to have him. And it's fun to look at all these stats, the rushing, the passing, the receiving. But what's never on here is the O-line play, because there's no way to justify it, right? Rushing can kind of sum it up. But no, it can't, because those guys played their tails off today. It just straight up, point blank period. They're awesome. I could name you play after play of guys making great blocks. Just over and over again, I could name them. Braden Kime, 4th and 1, made an incredible block. He alerted to the linebacker, made a great run up the sideline going north. Kime again on the 3rd and 1. Just railed that guy to the left side. You watch the tape. The hole looks like you could drive a forklift through it. I said Connor Pay could probably scoot through it on his little scooter. The guys are making plays left to right. It is so fun. Waylon loved when we go heavy on the goal line. He was in the backfield, made that great crush block. That DN wanted nothing to do with him and made it easy for LJ to get in the end zone. So guys are making plays left and right. I can keep going on. Big Tree made a great block on a play and allowed me to scramble and make a great throw to Chase for a big play. These guys are making plays left and right. Austin Lewis, these guys are awesome.
Take us back, the chemistry of off-season till now, whereas you guys are driving up the field, back-to-back plays for 80-plus yards for touchdowns.
It's fun to think about it, man. When we're down, all right, we were down 7-0. We should have been up. But we're down 7-0. But, man, we didn't flinch. The guys, we were running these stadiums in the summer. We were looking out at the field like, I can't wait to go show it on the field. So it's easy to remember the hard days of summer. It's easy to remember, my training did this for me. And so when things get tough, man, these guys fall back on their training and play really good. I could just keep naming them, bro. I'd bore you guys with the amount of things I could name for this offense to do. All these guys are stepping up in so many ways that doesn't show up right here on the stat sheet, and it's the reason why we win 41-19 against a really good Arizona team.
The season's far from being over, but 6-0, is this validation for you, just everything that has come?
No. We're only 14 in the country. We're better than that. We got a really good football club here. I'm really excited for what we're going to do the rest of the season. 6-0 is awesome. It's awesome to be able to say that we got bowl eligible. Great, but, man, we just want to get better and better and better every week. And these guys have, like I said, they have the right mindset for it. So I'm excited to see what we do as the season goes on.
Jake, to follow up on that, this place has been around for 100 years, this program. Not many quarterbacks have got off to 6-0 starts. Just the quarterbacks that have done it are some of the best. What do you feel like that means to you to be kind of in that realm of QBs here?
I'm just blessed to be where I'm at, to do what I do. I got to talk to Steve Young before the game. He came up to me on the sideline. He called me a swashbuckler on the big noon kickoff game. But he said he was too, so I'm taking that as a compliment. Man, it's just incredible. I get to walk around and talk to Robbie Bosco every day. I get to talk to all these great guys, all these great quarterbacks, the great just players around the building like Tom Homo and Chad Lewis, all these legends I get to be around. And they do nothing but want to build us up. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we're at. And so I'm grateful for everybody who's come before me. I'm more grateful for the guys in the locker room with me doing this because we love to give quarterbacks credit. We love to give quarterbacks the credit for the records, but it's not that, man. I mean, I was 0-4 last year. That means I was the worst quarterback in the country last year, and all of a sudden we're 6-0, and I'm the greatest. Like, no, that's not it. It's the guys around me playing really well that's making it what it is. And so grateful for them, grateful for everybody who came before me, and excited to keep this going.
Are the celebrations in the locker room still as animated and funny now that you guys are stacking them up week after week?
Yeah. Guys got to start coming up with new dance moves, but that's a good problem to have. Darius should have 3 touchdowns. I want to see what his next touchdown dance is every week. Usher against Baylor, who knows what. I got to stop taking pictures of him because apparently that might be a penalty next time, but I should probably stop doing that. So if you got any ideas for celebrations for me, I'll take them. But yeah, the guys are having a lot of fun, and we're having good problems.
And that's quarterback Jake Retzlaff. Huge game for Jake. Solid performance. I shouldn't say huge. It was a solid performance. No turnovers, and he
0
continues.
interceptions. That's all that matters. I mean, honestly, that's really
yes.
That's what you want. Good Jake is just the guy who just keeps the ball rolling, man, and that's what you want. You want the good guy.
As you heard from Jake, he obviously took a little bit of offense to Steve Young calling him a swashbuckler, and but Jake's playing some good football right now, and he even ran the ball and didn't put the ball on the turf, so he's taking care of possessions, and he's doing a really good job. And you think about BYU, only 6 BYU teams have ever reached 6-0. And this is the 6th one.
Wild.
And you think about the quarterbacks that have led those teams that have started 6-0. Mark Wilson, Robbie Bosco, Max Hall, Brandon Doman, and Zach Wilson. Now Jake Retzlaff joins that crew. I mean, those are among the elite BYU quarterbacks, and he's in that mix. So Jake's feeling comfortable too. You heard it in that sound. He clearly is no longer looking over his shoulder, worried about Gary Bohannon. Like, he is QB1. And you're hearing that he's comfortable in his own skin now. He's talking to the media. It's a little bit, bantering back and forth. It was fun. I being in that press conference, it was fun to hear that side of him because he now truly is very comfortable in his spot, and he's got the spotlight all over him right now.
Yeah, and you want to be like, hey, look, these things are different this year for Jake, right? I mean, last year, you think about going 0-4 and then starting the season off 6-0 this year. It's a very, very different situation for him. So, all right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go right around the corner. You don't want to miss any of it. Our program every Sunday brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. It is 1st and 12 right here. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. We'll be right back. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.